Well, that's what we're looking at today. Internal party democracy. Last week was a very active period across the country, and we have to speak with us Professor of Political Science, Professor Femi Otubanjo, and a member of the PDP. Thank you for coming.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, Prof, let's begin with the bigger incident of last week.
Yeah.
I mean, in Lagos and Abuja, we had the 2 presidential primaries that held.
Yes.
What's your assessment of the processes?
Well, it shows that our democracy is growing. It was a relief to find that the APC could organize an open convention. That's 50 years after PDP started it. It was good to see on television that Nigeria knows how to select fairly and transparently. In the case of the PDP, it was a matter of endorsing our president, who had already been endorsed by all the organs of the party, which is what happens really in developed countries, that the sitting president gets the first offer of refusal. So you don't go through all the rigmarole of convention and primaries and so on. So we had last week 2 good images of parties that have the capacity to democratically select their candidates for the election. It was a good image.
Even though the processes for the PDP, for instance, the processes that led up to that endorsement,
yeah,
there were some disagreements here and there. I mean, Tafawa Balewa saying that he was still going to run even though he wasn't given the ticket, and the other female aspirant who said she wasn't allowed to perform.
There's always room for disagreement, as we have seen from the report. People will disagree, but Tafawa Balewa was not excluded. That is the important point you must notice. The institutional, the bureaucracy of the PDP did not exclude anybody. The president was just endorsed as our favorite candidate. That did not mean that anybody who wanted to challenge him could not have done so.
You don't think that they could have been a little more subtle in terms of, the president getting the endorsement of everyone? Because a lot of people will say that what it looked like was close to arm twisting, in the sense that initially the party had come out to say they had just one form. They only have one presidential nomination form, and then subsequently they changed their mind to, okay, after a lot of noise had been made, fine, if you want to come and get, we'll sell to you.
When you endorse, when the entire party machinery endorses the president, you assume that there will be no reasonable person really will come out and say, I want to challenge the president. It's like you want to waste your money, because the entire party structure is behind the president. They are not saying don't come, but it just doesn't make sense for you to try. It's like running into a moving train. What are you going to gain by contesting against the president, except to have your name in the newspapers? Let's make sense. So the PDP did not exclude anybody from contesting against President Jonathan. What happened was that the people who tried it knew that it was a futile effort.
So they backed up. But let's look at what happened in the All Progressives Congress, where the 5 candidates decided that they wanted to test their popularity. Shouldn't that have been the situation in the PDP?
Well, that was the situation. Nobody stopped anybody from testing his popularity. That was the situation. Nobody said to anybody, don't come and contest. Of course, there were the corporate negotiations, talking to people, what are you trying to do? We want a party to go united and so on. That is allowed. That is not excluding. That's not arm twisting. You talk all the time in politics. In fact, the APC people talked a lot before they were talking about consensus. That was the first option. But later on, they decided to go for
a lot of people will say that it was in the interest of their newly formed party that they go down the route that they did go. But we've seen that, okay, so at the level of, at the national level, talking about presidential candidates, you say that both parties have done pretty well in that particular area. But it doesn't seem like it's permeated down to the state levels. I mean, you're seeing all sorts of bickering and crises. In some cases, parallel primaries were held. What do you have to say about that?
Well, when you say that, that's not a general thing. You must not assume that the exemption and then translate it to be the rule. there are areas, 1 or 2 or 3 places where there are complaints. Yes, there will always be complaints in politics, particularly in our own center, as we call it, democracy. People will always contest elections.
Prof, if I come in here, you say 1 or 2 places.
Yes.
We have Imo, Enugu, Adama, for instance, we have a number
of 36 states in Nigeria.
Rivers.
There are 36 states in Nigeria, including the Federal Territory. And if you have 3, 4, 5, you are still talking about minority.
But why would we have those kind of trends now at this point?
That's what
about democracy.
That is how democracy works, because people have a right to contest elections. The system worked. The people are saying it did not work. So the PDP has a highly structured system of dealing with this situation. When you see this noise on television, you must also know that the process of appeal was in place. The process of ratification by the NWC is also in place. So there's always room to correct this. Even if there was injustice, the system will correct it if it is blatant. But you know, our people will deal in rumors. We jump on the street, we talk without facts.
Oh, well,
if you were talking about the crowd, if the other side were to bring out their own supporters, you know, you would think that they are the other man at ground.
Professor, so, you know, in some instances, you know, it's quite clear. For instance, in the case of Adamawa, where we had some of the members of the PDP in that state come and, you know, speak on what exactly what had transpired. They said their primaries were moved to Abuja, which is a total breach of, you know, the party's constitution, and that it would seem that the delegates list was totally not the one that was approved.
Quite honestly, I have no information that will contradict or confirm what you are saying about the delegates list. I don't have it. But I'm sure if you look at the constitution of the PDP, it will have provision for such exigencies. The PDP, the Adamawa is an emergency zone. So there will be difficulties. Maybe the party envisaged difficulties are decided in the interest of security and the life of all those who will participate to move into Abuja. I'm not sure that there's something outrageous about that. So when you start talking about constitution, even within the larger Nigerian constitution, there are exigencies that you have to deal with. And you have to take different steps from what you would normally take.
No, Prof.
Yes.
Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So would you take a decision that involves a people, for Adamawa State, take a decision that involves the people without the people's involvement?
How do the people get involved? Are you going to have an election? Are you going to have an election or a vote to say let's move or not let's move? Are you going to begin with that? Then your purpose, if you have to do that, you have to bring the entire delegates that you have selected to some center. And that is the danger of that center being attacked, is what people are trying to avoid. It's nothing to do. So you cannot really, put into practice this is your government of the people, but it does not happen all the time. That is why we delegate authority to people through elections, so that the minority can rule on our behalf, because it's not really always possible for everybody to take decisions. The decisions have to be taken by a few.